and a lot of good food, vegetables, and we had the best. It's not like these old rotten things you get in the produce department that are shipped and packaged and handled and bruised and aged, and you get some decent food. But when you live on a farm, you go right out there and you pick something off the tree. I remember one of our neighbors' name was Dalton. He grew nectarines and peaches. I mean, hundreds of acres of peaches, and he told us that we could go out there and pick what we wanted, as long as we didn't, gather and take it home, and if you can eat it out in the field, you can have it. And that was quite neat. And I noticed we did have a lot of problems with theft out in the farms too. Oh, it was a real big problem. It's amazing how people to look out on the highway and watch someone just stop, and some city slicker gets out and he just sees, hey, watermelon sitting right there. What's a watermelon doing right there? And they just go out there and they just load them up. And by the time we can run out there and they're just there and off they go. They think it's just like a free for all. They've been caught. One of our neighbors, actually, a farmer neighbor, he caught somebody in his field who had just loaded up several watermelons in the back of his pickup bed. He had I think he was going to go sell them or something, but he caught him, and he told him, hey, you owe me $600 for that load of watermelons. And that guy said, you got to be crazy. There's not $600 worth of watermelons. He says, well, that's what I'm charging. You can either pay it or I'm going to call the sheriff. And so the guy, you wouldn't do that. He said, he got his phone out and says, I'm calling. And so the guy wrote him a check, got $600 for those watermelons. But the Bible says here the future plan for our diet is to eat from the tree of life. And that's going to be what? What kind of food is that? Fruit, fresh fruit. Now, is the tree of life something that is only future? Or did it go all the way back to the beginning of time? The tree of life is somewhere now. It's probably, we believe it's in heaven right now, waiting for the earth made new, and it's going to be our future refrigerator. It's our pantry. That tree of life is going to be our source of food. But it's not a new thing, is it? God gave it to Adam and Eve. It's before Adam and Eve. God planted it in the garden. And this is what Adam and Eve ate from. Which brings us to question 2. What was God's original diet plan for man? That's Genesis 1 and verse 29. This is original. This is pre-sin. The Bible says, I have given you every herb bearing seed and every tree which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it will be food. Now you notice in King James it'll use the word meat for food, doesn't it? That means food though, right? Are you aware of that? Everybody's comfortable with that. I remember a lady, I was studying the Bible with a lady one time, and she said, well, you see, she knew that I was a vegetarian. I think I was a vegetarian at this time, but she was on to me, and she was saying, well, Jesus gave that Jairus' daughter he commanded him to give her some meat. When he raised her back to life, he said, give her some meat. See, Jesus wants her to eat meat. I go, okay. But of course that word meat means food, doesn't it? It doesn't mean flesh food. So the first thing he gave us were fruits. Now you know the difference between a fruit and a vegetable, don't you? A fruit is the product of the blossom, right, on a plant. So we always thought like tomatoes and corn and some other of these, what we used to think were vegetables, they're really fruits, aren't they? Like zucchini and those are fruits, aren't they? Because they have seeds in them and they came through the product of the blossom. So that gives us a wide variety of foods. And Adam and Eve had a huge amount of different things to eat. Nuts or fruits, basically, in the same category. But let's go to question 3. It says, what changed after Adam and Eve sinned? Genesis 3:18. This is the entrance of sin into the Bible. The Bible says, and you shall eat the herb of the field. Now this is where punishment came in. God punished us with vegetables. With asparagus and Brussels sprouts and beets, and here they come, and how many of you like Brussels sprouts? Anybody out there? All right, wow. Oh, you don't, but you like them now? Amazing. How do you learn that thing? But that's good. I had trouble with asparagus. I don't know if I've shared that with you, but asparagus is not good. I think it's when it's cooked I have problems with it, because I could probably eat it if it wasn't cooked. But in the beginning, God had an ideal diet. It was fruits, and then after sin came into the world, He allowed us to have. He brought in vegetables into the deal here. So the ideal diet for man was fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, that includes grains and all those other things. But this is a plant-based diet. That's how God intended us to eat in the first place. And many people still eat this way, don't they? There are many people, not just Christian people, but there are many people who have a plant-based diet. Oprah Winfrey's staff apparently did a just recently did a whole show with these people from Loma Linda. The staff, it says here, with Dr. Oz, flew to Loma Linda because they heard about this health study that was going on there, and they heard about these centenarians and all these people living a long life. So they were curious. So they took a tour of the Loma Linda market. How many of you have been in? We used to shop there. The Loma Linda market. It's quite a nice little store. Lots of Whole Foods and bins of foods, and quite a nice variety of healthy foods. So they took a tour of this market, trying to figure out why Adventists, how they eat, and why they live so long. And after the tour, they were given samples, and upon returning to Illinois, where the Oprah Winfrey Show is, to Illinois, they called back and requested that the market staff come and put on a cooking show for a vegetarian Thanksgiving show. They did a little vegetarian demonstration of Thanksgiving turkey with, I guess that's tofurkey we call it, don't we? The tofurkey and everything. So they actually were on there. I couldn't find the footage of that. I was looking for it. I could not find the footage, but I did read about the article. But seeing more and more interest, we're seeing more and more interest in healthy living, even in the shows like Oprah Winfrey and a lot on Time Magazine and a number of other shows. This was on Dan Rather's Good Morning America and all that. A lot of people really interested in this. How to live longer, how to eat healthier. Question number 4 says, when were flesh foods allowed into man's diet? Now, can you imagine can you imagine seeing, if you're in Adam and Eve's situation, or back in those days, seeing the first animal kill something and eat it? You're used to eating from the tree of life, you use fruits and vegetables, and all of a sudden you see something, kill something and eat it. That would be kind of a disturbing thing. And I don't know where man first started, who was the first guy to actually eat another animal, but it seems kind of barbaric at first. You think, you're eating another animal? I mean, that's not food. It's really bizarre. I can't imagine someone watching a chicken and something comes out of the bottom of the chicken, an egg. Hey, I think I'll eat that, Genesis 9 and verse 3, we're talking about when it first came in the Bible here. Genesis 9 and verse 3 says, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, even as the green herb that I have given you. Now, when was Genesis 9 here? This before the flood or after the flood? Yeah, right after the flood. Now, why do you suppose God allowed flesh foods to come into man's diet right after the flood? Nothing else to eat. Yeah, there's all kinds of yes. Yeah, that's right. Now, yeah, right. After man was allowed to eat flesh foods, their lifespan drastically was cut down, wasn't it? Men were living, 900 years almost? Yeah. Yeah, Noah lived, 950 years? And then shortly after that, you get down to Abraham, he's down to 175, and then it goes down, and now we're down to 70 and 10. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Well, that's what the Bible says. It says, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. You got to read it in context. Let's go to question 5. Question 5 will help us with that. Now going back to the why that flesh foods were allowed, and Judy said it was because there was nothing else to eat. It was not really for nutrition, was it? It was survival. There's nothing, you get out there, where are the gardens, And the world must have looked drastically different. It was before it was producing, and you could eat anything. There's food growing everywhere, and boy, now it's decimated. Can you imagine the before and after pictures that Noah had of the earth? Before it's beautiful, luscious green, and then all of a sudden he gets off the boat and says, "What happened? What planet am I on?" Completely different. Question number 5, which will help lead into what Paul's talking about. Did God intend for man to eat any kind of animal? Yeah. Now, did Noah know about the clean and the unclean animals? Sure he did. Look in Genesis 7 and verse 2. This is going back a couple of chapters. This is about getting on the boat, getting on the ark. The Bible says, with every clean beast you shall take by 7s, and of the beasts that are not clean by 2s. Now, you notice, why would they use the word clean? Why did God use